Hello there, and today we'll be taking a look at elementaryOS. So essentially, elementaryOS is a Linux distribution aimed at the uneducated, or someone coming from a Mac. But it can also be targeted at people who want simplicity, or people with older machines such as Pentium Ds and other cool stuff, which cannot run any other distributions other than, say, Puppy Linux. So now we're going to go ahead and wait for this thing to hopefully get its head out of the gutter. Because the first time I tried shooting this video earlier, it decided to go ahead and freeze up during the install, which is not a good thing at all. So now we have a black loading thimble, kind of reminiscent of Mac. A little bit, not much. So we can try it or we can install it. We're gonna go ahead and install it today. So what it requires is that you have at least 3 GB available drive space, plugged into a power source, and is connected to the internet. We are not going to hit third-party software because that's probably what crashed it, or we're going to keep the updates off too. Continue. Replace. elementaryOS 17.2 gigs. It'll all be used. Install. Note the nice interface design, in my opinion. I think it looks nice, at least. I like how everything is easily laid out so far. We'll find out how easily laid out it is at the home screen. So far, seems pretty simplistic for what it is. So let's go ahead and continue. Alright, we can test our keyboard here. And we're doing this while we're installing elementaryOS, which I think is pretty cool. But the only complaint I have about it is, say your computer's old, slow, like Pentium 4 slow. You do not want to be trying to type something in this layout thing, or hitting the continue button while this thing is chugging along installing stuff. So redundant X. Okay, let's go ahead and enter our password. Ignore that. Alright. I hit require my password to log in, so we can see the login screen. So now it will be installing the system. This usually doesn't take long. It takes about 15 minutes on this VirtualBox software. Installation is complete, so now we're going to go ahead and restart and check out the interface. Press enter, you can do that, and you can see my ugly face again because of the stupid glossy screen. Now we wait patiently for it to boot. There it is. So let's check out the lock screen first. So right here we have redundant X, which is me. We have date and time right over here. You can barely see it, but yeah. Then we have a button for guest session. Oh, up here we have suspend, restart, or shut down. We have volume, and we have on-screen keyboard and high contrast. Basically, accessibility. Let's go ahead and enter our password to get into the system. Really, it doesn't matter if you see this password or not, because that is not my primary password anyway. Alright, so we're now into the interface, and as you can tell, it is Mac-esque at best. We have the Mac-like dock, and we have the up here, this part here. So let's start with applications. What do you get with this thing? You get Archive Manager, you get Calculator, Calendar, Document Viewer, pretty much, you know, your basic stuff. Your basic stuff is what comes with this thing. Update Manager, System Settings, that type of thing. It's basic, basically. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Alright, so let's start with Midori, which can't be started because it needs a driver. Because the internet sucks. Alright, so we can now go to any website on planet Earth. So we're going to start with a less demanding website. Well, less demanding as in demanding enough to enhance performance. So now we're going into YouTube. So YouTube is somewhat demanding, but not really. So we're in YouTube now, and yeah, there you go, YouTube. You can, well, you can watch videos, but you can't. It's not recommended. All right, so let's go ahead and call your attention to up here. Here's the X button. It is not Mac-like in any way, shape, or form. And up here is basically, you want it up, or you want it down? Up, down, up, down. So, there's that. You can have multiple tabs. You have speed dial. But now let's try an even more demanding website. I don't even think I spelled that right. There you go. We're going to try a more demanding website. Now, in the last install I did with this, it didn't work at all. So let's see if it works this time. But this system has a Core i5, basically a Core i5 equivalent with 1 gig of RAM. 1 gig of RAM. That's all there is in this thing. And an 18 gigabyte hard drive. Oddball, isn't it? Oh yeah, and here's some bad interface design though. You're supposed to use this stupid thing to scroll. Dumb as heck. Because I'm accustomed to the scroll wheel because I am a user of Windows. So this does not impress me at all. Frankly. I do not like going page by page. I am accustomed to scrolling correctly. So that doesn't really impress me, but that's not the only place it's applied, unfortunately. So let's head on to Geary Mail. You can set up your mail, but I'm not going to do it in this video because, well, my mail is my mail. Empathy is the same thing. Empathy, and don't mind that. You can do messaging and VoIP. That's basically what this is. So you got calendar. Music reminds me a lot of iTunes. Because you got library over here. Well, old iTunes, not new iTunes. Play pause is right here, and it even says in the same correct font, get some tunes. Which is awesome. Honestly. Alright, so what else do we have here? So, anything else interesting you may ask? No. Unless you go to the Software Center, of which you can download software. You can get VLC. There is not really that much here, I don't think. from the last time, because this is an old version. This is from 2013, so it's not going to support everything. Oh yeah, and there's that stupid fidgety wheel, or the stupid fidgety button thing again. It's ridiculous. To me, it's ridiculous, because I'm accustomed to the scroll wheel. I do not like scrolling like this. I mean, it's good for people who don't know how to use a scroll wheel, but not for people like me. They missed a mark. You can view your installed right here. And there's your typical other cool stuff. But I do have one major gripe about this when we go to download something. But this is common on all Linux systems. Oh, no. Again, that's why the scroll thing shouldn't exist, because it just gets in the way when you're trying to hit something. So let's hit install. Yeah, you have to put in your password. Now that is annoying. Doing it every single time is quite annoying. Now you also have to do it when installing drivers and authenticating that you're, on the account, stuff like that. You can see progress from this screen. See history. And you can see other stuff. So, it's going to take a little bit, so let's go ahead and close that out. It'll appear up here in the applications. Now this will pop up your calendar settings. You get volume up or down, which you cannot control by the scroll wheel. You get your battery indicator if you're on a laptop like I am. You get a bunch of other stuff. You get redundant X. You get your guest session, which I'll show you here in a moment. And log out, suspend, or shut down. So interface wise, I kind of like the interface. It works, but it's not that good to me. It really isn't. Like the scroll wheel, or the scroll, here, let me show you again, in case you guys forgot. Like the scroll thing, I do not enjoy the scroll thing. I really hate the scroll thing, because it just gets in the way. On the other hand, I do like the Mac-esque styling. But where it all comes down to is what you can change. Specifically, settings. Let's go into it. Now you can also use the terminal, but who really wants to use a terminal in 2017? Anyway, you can do brightness and lock. I don't know why they're stuck in the same menu, really. Kind of dumb. Interface design. Desktop. So you can change your background if you don't like it. And again, there's that annoying, at least to me, button scroller. Really annoying. I really hate that. You can change the size of your dock to whatever you want. You can do a little bit in settings, but not as much as I'd like, personally. So you can do privacy, startup apps, and pretty much some more bare bones stuff. But I never said this was tailored to the power user. This is more tailored toward people who just need an operating system that's simple, and I think it delivers on that mission pretty well, from what I could see. But let's go ahead and check out the guest account real quick. So we're out of... Oh my god, you can see my face again. It's ridiculous. Screen. This is why I need to get recording software. Alright, so now we are in the guest account. What can you do in here? Everything that you could have done in the primary account. Although, I don't think you can install apps. In fact, let's see. So let's get LibreOffice Calc. Come on. Come on. Come on. Is that a crash? Oh, there's that stupid thing again. I'm sorry, but every time I see that thing, it makes me want to punch the computer because it's just in the way. Like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, it's out of the window this time, but if I pull it up, look, it's in the way. It's ridiculous. This is the dumbest design thing I've ever seen. Anyway, enough of my ranting. Let's go back into trying to install something. Of which it won't let me install. This is ridiculous. Alright. Well, apparently, I can't test that. So anyway, now it is time to rate elementaryOS on a scale of 1 to 10 in every new department I can think of to rate it with. So let's start with design. So obviously, I have a love-hate relationship with design. On one hand, I like the Mac-esque look. On the other hand, I really don't care for the scroll thing. Like, the scroll thing is just... But that's about the only gripe I can really think of. Besides the lack of settings. But we'll talk about that here in a moment. So design, that will get a 7.5 out of 10 from me. Ease of use. It is definitely easy to use. I will not complain. But the terminal does have some sort of learning curve. So for ease of use, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Please fix the terminal. I really don't like it. Next up is mission. How good does it deliver on its mission? Well, in my opinion, it delivers really well. So for that, we'll give it a 10 out of 10. Next up is functionality. Like, how useful is it? Type thing. Now, I know it falls kind of under design and ease of use, but functionality, I'd say, is pretty good for what it is. So I will give it an 8 out of 10. So how much control do you have over the computer? Which is settings. Well, I'd say not very much control at all, unless you use the terminal. So I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. So now let's talk about the installer. The installer was pretty good. I mean, it was fine, but the only real gripe I had about the installer, besides the weird white thing, the white on green for the map, was the fact that you were using your computer while it was installing. And I think in older systems it's not going to work too well, but newer systems it will, so it's kind of hit and miss. So I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next is learning curve, which dictates like how somebody would have to adapt if they came from another operating system. The learning curve is minimal, so I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. Next, let's talk about bugginess. Well, bugginess was definitely evident in the installer, but, you know, that's to be expected when you're working with an installer like that. Also, there were almost no bugginess with anything else, so I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. Older hardware support is alright, I'd say. So I'd give that a 6, I'd give that a 7 out of 10. And finally, how much multitasking can you do? Well, evidently, it depends on your software, but In this case, with 1 gig of RAM, it can do pretty good multitasking, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So the ranking is 82 out of 100, which is currently the best operating system I have ever reviewed. But don't fret, there's more to come.